All right, so this is our final episode of the season. We're going to take a little break over the holidays, but we'll be back in the new year. We've got a great lineup of guests and some really interesting topics coming up.
Right. We've still got actually a few spots that we don't have filled. So if anyone has episode ideas, please shoot us a message either on our Instagram or to hello@risingerbuild.com.
Yeah, awesome. This episode today is our holiday episode. Enjoy. Ho.
Ho, ho.
You took mine.
Gotcha.
Ho.
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 Is your house ready for the big guy?
On today's episode, we're going to walk through some preparation for cold weather and winter, holiday guests, all the things that you need to get your house ready for Santa. The most obvious thing, designing and building a fireplace that works in a high-performance house. Let's just talk through what are some of the common pitfalls or problems with fireplaces, and how would you address those in a thoughtful way?
The first one that comes to mind for me is, knowing that we build more airtight homes is allowing for makeup air. As the fire needs oxygen, obviously, to work, and it's burning up oxygen and sucking hot air up through the chimney. It's creating a vacuum, and you need to backfill that with fresh air. So having a good makeup air system that is operating properly somewhere in the home to allow that fresh air to come in and not have it sort of backdraft.
Yeah.
But we'll get in the weeds, but I will say that older fireplaces that we used to do 30, 40, 50, 100 years ago, like let's just say a Rumford fireplace, took a lot of open air out of the room and drew it up the chimney. And so to Daniel's point, instead of drawing room air up the chimney and wasting heated, conditioned air and drawing in unfiltered, unconditioned air to burn that fire and draft it, we do something different now. And so older fireplaces don't really work well in high-performance homes. So we use a little more elegant solution, oftentimes gas-burning fireplaces that have sealed glass doors, and all the combustion air and all the makeup air are inside the chamber itself, right? So, yeah, it's a different process than people might be used to. You can still have a wood-burning fireplace, but we've got to allow for not only makeup air, but combustion air as well.
Yeah. What's the difference, I guess, between, there's gas, there's wood, there's electric. What are some options there, and maybe what's going to work best for a high-performance home?
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it several ways. One from, really just like an indoor air quality. Obviously, electric, you're not burning anything. But that's probably the cleanest option. And then it would be gas, and then it would be wood burning, I think.
No, I think that's right.
Yeah, it's a matter of really just making sure that those combusted fumes don't stay inside the house.
And what about air sealing? I feel like we always talk about fireplaces in relation to how well the home is sealed.
Yeah.
What considerations are there? Like how would you do that the right way?
Well, so it is a hole in your envelope, essentially. Now, you do have a flue, so you have to make sure that that flue seals correctly and is closed when you want it to be closed, like when you're not using the fireplace, and then open when you are. Obviously, you'll know very quickly if it's not open because the smoke will just fill up in the room.
Yeah.
But there is no sort of custom solution to making a flue seal more tightly. I don't think.
Yeah.
So it's really there are manufacturers that are better than others that consider that. So when you're choosing a fireplace setup, that should be a consideration.
Yeah. Direct vent fireplaces have been around for some time, but it's effectively a gas fireplace that burns a gas flame, sometimes over imitation gas logs. To try to simulate a wood-burning fire, some do a better job than others. But direct vent basically means that there's a vent mounted on the roof or the side of the house that draws in combustion and makeup air through the same pipe in a concentric pipe that it exhausts the fumes through. So it's a very self-contained solution to
Are
getting.
those considered sealed systems?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah. That's about the only way to do it. Otherwise, you do have to bring in an outside source of air.
Yeah. So as long as that sealed system is sealed well, then you don't really have to consider that opening in the envelope because
That's
it's
right.
not. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, I think now that Santa's inside, we can address some other options.
Yeah.
So maybe we should have done this one first. We've got preventing ice damming as our next topic, for the reindeer safety. We don't want them slipping up there.
Absolutely.
Maybe could someone explain, like, what is ice damming and how do we prevent it?
Yes. It's not something I'm super
enlighten us,
familiar
Daniel.
with.
No, we don't really have to.
We don't deal with it a lot, but so it's essentially, my understanding is when you have if you have snow on your roof, and if the roof itself is warm because of maybe a leaky ceiling or some other heat from the house is getting up, it melts that bottom layer of ice or of snow. And then that runs off and maybe hits the eaves where there isn't any warmth and then refreezes. Is that
Yeah,
a good
I think so.
description
Yeah,
of how it
that's
works?
great.
Yeah. So one way to prevent that is if you have a very nicely insulated and sealed roof, then you don't get that heat transfer from below and you don't get the melting in the first place. Besides that, there are basically heat strips. I know that can be installed in certain areas that don't allow that water to refreeze.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's more like maybe
Like
putting,
if you can't solve it the other way.
yeah,
then-
exactly.
Yeah.
But quite honestly, I don't have very much experience with that at all.
I think, am I wrong? Is it usually common, like right at the wall where maybe you would have a reduction in insulation
Yeah.
there because of, less room there? So like, what is it called? Energy heal? If you can change the design so that you can allow the same amount of insulation in that spot so that heat can't get up there, that's one method of dealing with that.
Right. I mean, either you don't want the snow to melt by insulating your roof to keep the heat from radiating up through the roof, or B, you want to create something that if it does melt, it continues to flow all the way out and over the eave. So one of the two is the best solution. And I think metal roofs seem to work better because for some reason or another, I guess because they don't trap snow and create like shingles do,
Oh.
a friction surface that would keep things from running off easily. I think the old wood shingle roofs were really bad at that, right? And then that's
The
why
reindeer love them, though.
that's right, they did.
So do I. Cool.
But that's when the roofing industry created ice and water shield,
Yeah.
that underlayment, knowing that when that ice dam created, that water wanted to run back uphill and get underneath the shingles and then come down through, and that prevents that. Anyway, again, we don't really have that problem here in
Yeah.
the South.
I guess the third option is move somewhere warmer.
That's right. Down here. Move to Austin.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move to the next. The next topic we have is on cooking, ventilation, and makeup air for the high volume cookie baking season. So, what are some things we can speak to here?
Cookies. Let's just talk about cookies.
What's your favorite kind of cookie?
Wow. Peanut butter, probably. But anyway,
I like a snickerdoodle.
well, yeah.
It's classic.
It's also
There
fun
is
to
that.
say.
It is. Yeah. Cooking. Well, let's see. If we're using gas for our cooktop or even for the oven, obviously it's the same sort of considerations we had for the fireplace,
That's right. Makeup air.
Got to have makeup air, got to have lots of good ventilation. We don't want to have too much ventilation because an overpowered cooktop vent is just going to draw in outside air, which again is unfiltered and untreated. But obviously those things need to be thought through by whoever's designing the house so that the venting in the kitchen is compatible with whatever systems are set up for makeup air or for treating that air.
So, like, if you are baking cookies, for example, or baking things, and that delicious smell is wafting through the house, is that a negative indoor air quality feature, or is that a positive?
I don't know. There's so
How does
much.
that affect your health?
There's so much
It
sensation.
can't be good.
Yeah,
They're not good for you to eat.
I think they're better for you to smell.
They're
though.
probably better off smelling them.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great question for people to think about. What cooking byproducts are actually bad for indoor air quality? As we have found out recently, or have suspected recently, the byproducts of natural gas cooking are very bad for humans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so we have to ventilate that. Anytime, in commercial kitchens, their ventilation requirements for the gas cooking that they do in commercial kitchens is incredibly high volume, and they have to condition that air to make up for it, right? And I wouldn't have a cooktop vent over 600 CFM. That's probably the limit. They make them up to 1,200 CFM, which in a residential environment is probably not helpful. Right?
Yeah.
And then that means we have to have makeup air for 600 CFM when it's turned up all the way. And then if you're in a cold climate, you're bringing in really, really cold air. So you have to have a makeup system that actually heats the air as it's coming in.
Yeah. Yeah, it can get complicated quickly. Let's say you're about to host a party and you're preparing for that. Maybe you've got double ovens going, you've got your range going. You're creating a lot of heat inside the kitchen itself. So in managing that sort of thermal output is probably also a consideration in how your HVAC system works with that, because you don't want to overheat the place.
Yeah.
I guess you can always open
I'll
a
show you
window.
right as you're adding more people in.
Yeah.
Right.
A couple of things maybe that we could speak to just regarding like thoughts on the design process, or just like planning for the space. If thinking about, a lot of times for holidays you might want double ovens, or just in general for that matter, but the space that takes up, and then also thinking about like the efficiency of the capture of range hoods. Typically it's nice if they can actually have some sides to them and a top, and it's like tucked in. It's going to capture more of the odors and more of the things that we shouldn't be breathing in. Whereas, the island ones that are just kind of out there floating aren't going to work as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Trying to think, there may be some other things. Yeah, those are good. Okay.
Downdraft vents, we should just say something briefly about that. For people who do want to put their cooktop on an island without an overhead vent, they do make fairly nice high-end cooktops for islands, but they oftentimes have a ventilation device that comes up from behind and tries to draw air into it. Those have to be fairly high volume to capture the fumes, if you will, because they're not directly above. They don't generally work as well. Yeah. I wouldn't recommend them, but they are out there.
Yeah, and I agree. Traditionally, they are located at the back, so they work better for the back burners and not so good on the front burners. We have seen some and specified some where it's actually centrally located in between, say, 4 burners.
Oh.
But like Tim says, you really got to suck hard to get that stuff to go down.
Use geometry to your advantage.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we touch on just the idea of freeze protection in the event that Santa needs a pit stop? Want your plumbing to be working.
Yeah.
Maybe let's start with, what about like exterior? How do you prep your home for cold weather?
I think every home should have a central shutoff. Whenever the water comes in from the utility, it needs to come up at a central location, typically in the garage, where you have a shutoff valve, and you can shut off the water to the house in case you need to work on it, or in case it freezes or whatever. So at that point, you can also run separate plumbing to all of your outside faucet bibs or your hose bibs.
Yeah.
So that can be shut off in the winter, isolated by itself, and the rest of the house be fully open and working right.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, each individual faucet outside, each individual water source can be a frost-proof hose bib. Now, we say that in the South because that's something not unique to our history. I mean, not common to our history. But we started doing it almost in every house now, right?
Yeah.
Up north, they've been doing it for decades. As soon as they made, frost-proof hose bibs, I'm sure they've been using them up north.
Yeah. Something that we try not to do here, but it's not as much of an issue, and that's running plumbing lines in an exterior wall. Generally, up north, that you don't do that. Here, we try not to, but we still do, and it's usually not an issue. But it's a consideration anyway to make sure that all your pipes are well insulated, both the hot and cold lines.
Right. Imagine if you put any plumbing on an outside wall and you have a 20-degree outside temperature and a 70-degree inside temperature, you have to have more insulation on the 20-degree side than you do on the 70-degree side. So if you put plumbing in that cavity, you've got to have enough thickness behind the plumbing to insulate it substantially so the 20 degrees doesn't radiate in and become 32 degrees at the plumbing pipe.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think about those little styrofoam covers that they put on?
I mean, I've used them.
I use them too.
That's the thing. I was going to say, why don't we speak to what do you do if you don't have this set up and your house is just kind of older or, didn't consider these things when you built it? What are the things that you do to protect plumbing when the weather gets cold?
I think that's it.
That's it. That's really it is to, they're not all created equal, but the styrofoam ones that have the little foam gasket on them, it's really important. When we talk about air tightness, it really plays into everything. And that's a moment when it's sort of a great example of why you need air tightness, because if you've got a styrofoam cover on your hose bib, but it's not tight against the wall, might as well not have it at all.
Yeah.
Because that outside air is getting in there, and the temperature inside the styrofoam cover is the same as outside.
The convection overcomes the conduction.
So when you put them on, make sure that you're aware that you're doing it properly and that it is sealing well. And, unless it's an extreme case, they work.
Here's the blessing. In older homes that don't have frost-proof hose bibs, they're generally not insulated as well. So the house will radiate more heat to the outside wall.
That's true.
So the styrofoam cover actually is trapping that heat radiating from the inside.
Yeah, that's true.
And make it work.
Yeah.
They don't really work well on very well insulated houses because there's not that much heat coming through the wall.
And it is wasteful, but if you're dripping your faucets inside your home, it works. I mean, if that water's moving, it's not freezing.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that is, on a older home, something that's a must do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know what? On my house, I've got not just, I'm using stuff like that. There are a couple places where there's plumbing outside.
Yeah.
And last winter, I was like we hadn't moved in yet. So I was even more scared. So we had space heaters inside. And then I went to Home Depot last minute and got a bunch of insulation and taped everything up as much as I could. No, nothing happened, but I was really nervous about that.
Yeah.
I think I need to probably address that.
I've got a hose bib in my yard that's
just
way
out
far away
there?
from my house. It's just sticking out of the ground. And, I'll wrap it with towels or do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It has frozen and then thawed, but never actually leaked.
Wow.
And I don't know how that's possible, but
Christmas magic.
yeah.
Christmas magic. That's right. Santa has been to your house. So two things. Think of the ground out in your yard just like a house.
Yeah.
It's radiating that 70-degree ground temperature up through the surface. And if you can just hold that into the surface around that yard faucet enough to overcome the 20-degree outside temperature, it'll keep it from freezing. But the other thing we didn't talk about, heat tape. Outside plumbing lines, if you put heat tape on them and plug it in, it will keep the pipe from freezing.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to keep that in mind if we get some real cold weather.
They make them in 3 foot, 6 foot, 9 foot, 12 foot lengths.
How does that work? It's just connected to
It has a little thermostat in it, and it is a heating element in the tape. and it just, when it needs to, when it gets down like at 35, the thermostat kicks the little element on and radiates it into the plumbing pipe.
Basically a little toaster.
Little toaster.
Genius.
Right? Yeah.
Nice. I like it. Okay. And then let's talk heating, insulation, and thermal protection to keep everyone cozy, including Santa. I don't know. This is like a very broad topic, but what are some things? Maybe start with insulation.
Have it.
Yeah. Actually, here's a good example. So I actually need to figure out how to get my heat on right now because last year, like right around the time when it was still cold, but it was starting to get warm, I was like in my crawl space trying to figure out how to get my furnace to like, I think because we had the gas turned off, I was like
pilot
in
light.
there. Yeah, something is off. I like opened the line. I started smelling gas, closed it, tried to start it. I was like going in and out of the house, like to turn it on and couldn't get it turned on. And then the weather got warm and I was like, this is a problem for later.
Now is later.
So now it's later. This week, and we're living in the house now, I knew it was going to get cold and I was like, oh, I need to get under there. But then I get home from work and it's dark and I'm too lazy. And so we have one space heater in our house right now, but it's so well insulated. It's not uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And we like totally redid the roof with a bunch of kind of like an over roof situation.
Yeah.
And my husband actually jokingly said to me the first night, I'm kind of surprised that one space heater is keeping this house warm.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's great. That's awesome.
But I still need to call someone and get out there.
My in-laws, many, many years ago, they had a home in southwestern Colorado. And it was a modular home. Believe it or not, it was what they call a double wide. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was so well insulated. They had those
That's surprising.
They had those baseboard electric heaters
Oh, yeah.
in each room. It wasn't much. Their utility bill, their electric bill in the dead of winter was only like $150 a month or something. It was very minimal because that house was so tight and so well insulated, right? And so you're right. If you insulate a house well enough, it doesn't take much heat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, so my house, as we've talked about before, is elevated.
Yeah.
And my crawl space is 8 or 9 feet. I haven't yet completed my house. And so the prescription is to insulate between the floor joists, which I have done, but then to put a layer of zip sheathing, seal it all up, and then put another 3 inches of rock wool underneath that.
Oh.
That part I haven't done yet. I haven't. Everything's still
The
exposed.
zip or
the zip
Okay.
and the extra insulation, and the rest of my house super well insulated. I've got exterior insulation everywhere else. My house is sealed pretty tightly, but the floor is cold and it affects the whole house. So it's not nearly as efficient as it needs to be. Although our heater has only kicked on, I think, once or twice so far. But it's surprising. But if you think about that, floor is a huge surface.
Oh, yeah.
And if that surface is radiating cold, then it's going to affect everything.
Yeah.
So if your crawl space is open or vented and you have rock wool, which is a porous insulation insulating the floor, unless it's closed off at the bottom, which you're planning on doing, it's what you were talking about a while ago. The convection of the cold air gets up into the fibers of the insulation and overcomes its R value, because the R value is really a rating of conductive transfer. It doesn't allow for the convection to get around the insulation and to the surface behind it.
Right.
So if, you're right. Just putting that sheathing underneath, in and of itself, without any
Will make a
additional
big
insulation,
difference.
will make a big difference.
I should say, actually, the carport and my son's bedroom, we have put the sheathing underneath there. And if you walk into those
Oh, you can tell
rooms, the
difference.
floor, you can tell is different.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
You can also tell the few spaces where I've had to pull insulation out to do some work. And so there's extra
It's like
cold
super
spots.
drafty. That's actually, our old house was on a crawl space, and you could definitely, if it was super windy and cold outside, you could feel it coming up in the
Yeah.
floor.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I like
don't know.
the carbon monoxide safety, something we
Yeah.
talked about, air quality.
Yeah.
And, when your heater comes on, like you said, you smell gas, all these kinds of, if you have gas or fireplaces, things like that, having those safety measures, your smoke detectors, all of that, making sure that those are located where they're supposed to be and operational. Especially if you've
Good
got
time to do a check.
put up a lot of lights, you have just additional hazards that you should be aware of at Christmas
Yeah.
time.
Older homes aren't required when they were built to have carbon monoxide alarms.
Detector.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can add them, which
Yeah.
is a smart thing, especially around combustible appliances. But yeah, that is a concern.
Should note too, I mean, when we're talking about power outages and cold weather and things like that, never operate a gas generator inside the house,
Yeah.
which
Oh
I know
gosh.
happens sometimes with bad effects. But yeah, and keep anything that's burning like that outside.
Yeah.
For sure.
Speaking of generators, we've installed a lot in the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
People seem to be, attracted to the concept of, well, we know the power is going to go out and it's going to be really, really cold outside, so we want some backup power. And been using that as a source of backup power. But it seems like more and more we're seeing solar combined with batteries as the alternative to the generator.
Yeah, or generator and batteries.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess if someone has a desire to add any of those items to their home and on an existing home, what are like maybe the first few steps that they need to do to look into that, to get like an idea of like, what does that look like? What's the cost? What's the time frame? Any recommendations?
Hire a contractor.
Yeah.
Don't do it yourself.
Yeah, of course.
The consideration is the initial, I would say, consideration is think about like what are you trying to accomplish? Are you going to want to run your entire house with everything as though there was no power outage? Or are you going to be more selective about it? And that will really inform the size of system that you want to put in. And then the additional infrastructure and things that you would need for that.
Yeah.
Also, do you have gas available on your property? Because not everybody
Yeah, that's
does.
good.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend a whole house generator unless you have propane or natural gas. Running a generator off gasoline or diesel is only a short-term solution, and it's extremely dangerous unless you do it all the time or a professional of some kind.
Yeah.
All right. What else? Oh, something you said actually, Daniel, reminded me when you said something about like holiday lights, like maybe thinking about decorations, the tree, the outside lights, whatever other kind of like holiday related things. What are some things that we can?
Inflatables.
Inflatables, of course. What are the things that we can recommend to help people plan for those things?
Well, first thing that comes to mind is if we're doing new construction and you know that you want to decorate for the holidays, sometimes we install outlets, receptacles in the soffits. So it makes it easy to plug in
nice.
those lights if you're putting them on the roof. I would say generally it's a lot safer than it used to be ever since LEDs have come along.
Yeah.
Because they don't get hot and they don't use hardly any electricity at all. So overloading circuits,
Less
which
of a
used to be a
concern.
big concern,
Yeah.
doesn't really happen as much. The inflatables, I don't know. I mean, running 16 fans off of one circuit may be bad, but just make sure that your main panel is up to date and
Yeah.
that your breakers are working.
All right.
And try not to overload any particular
Yeah,
circuit.
don't pull a Clark W. Griswold.
That's right. But maybe to think about if you are putting stuff up outside, like the inflatables, and what could happen if the wind blows hard.
Yeah.
Considerations about extreme weather and those types of things. Make sure they're staked down properly. And don't go up on a ladder when it's snowing outside and windy.
Any other last thoughts or things that you're doing for your own home to prep for, like if you knew cold weather was coming in this weekend, what would you do at your own house?
I have a 40-year-old home. And so I would probably put, I do have one frost-proof hose bib on the north side that I retrofitted, but the other ones I would probably cover with faucet covers.
Yeah.
Got to bring my plants inside, of course.
Yes, we
Right.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
So important.
And having a spot for those, that's not inconvenient. Is helpful. But other than that, covering plants with blankets or tarps or whatever, making sure your firewood is dry if you do have a wood burning fireplace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone should have all of their gas appliances, if you have gas appliances, checked twice a year, at least once a year, to make sure that the pilot lights are working correctly, the flames are adjusted correctly, that the filters are changed, that the whole mechanism works right, is heating correctly and safely. For the season, I think that's the biggest thing people can do to protect themselves and their families.
Yeah.
That's great.
You should also, if you haven't done it yet, but make sure that your irrigation systems are shut down
Yeah.
because you don't want those running when it's freezing outside.
Good point.
Unless you're trying to make a
Winter
skating
Wonderland.
rink. Yeah.
All right. I think that's good.
Yeah. Merry
This is
Christmas,
great.
everybody.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.